What's going on, guys? Agent Jim Shorts coming at you with another video for yins today. The very first video I ever did for this channel was last year when I took a look at the state of Star Wars in 2019. It's now 2020 and boy has this year been a doozy. Since I have a little bit of time on my hands, I thought I'd take a look at the current state of Star Wars 2020 edition. Right before we jump in though, it'd be awesome if you guys could take a second to like and subscribe, and if you don't want to miss any future videos, tap that bell icon. Anyway, let's get to the state of Star Wars 2020 edition. The Rise of Skywalker came to theaters with an impossible task. As I explained in the last video, I chose to be optimistic going into seeing this film, but alas, it still failed to excite me. While there are some cool moments and some pretty sets, the story just was screwed from the get-go. It had to somehow create 3 movies worth of build-up in 2 hours. The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi were so disjointed, they seemed like they were set in different universes and were almost Elseworld stories that had nothing to do with one another. I think J.J. Abrams did what he had to do to try to create a new story and direction that would be self-contained in one film, and yet still be fulfilling. That's a hard thing to do in a trilogy, much less in a single film. But what bums me out the most is I think the beginning of the movie had some real potential if they actually took the time to flesh it out through multiple movies. Most people hated the beginning of this film because it moved really fast and left casual fans absolutely lost. From a film perspective, I totally agree with this and understand why people felt this way, but as a Star Wars nerd who somehow graduated college while reading more Star Wars books than actual textbooks, I actually really enjoyed the beginning of this movie. It was far from perfect, but at the same time, it seemed like a Star Wars book story finally made it to the big screen. I could follow all the jargon and nerd speak, and it honestly was super fun for me. The issue is, this was still shoehorned into a movie, and by the time the plot actually got moving at a more normal pace, I was pretty bored. I saw foreshadowing like Rey healing Kylo from a mile away, and the entire movie just became meh in my mind. It did have a few really cool moments, and I was so close to saying, I don't actually hate this movie, until the really weird and dumb Rey double lightsaber beating the Emperor. It was just so dumb. I honestly don't have a better way to qualify that scene other than just dumb. It had no meaning or sense based on what the movie and extended universes had told us, and it just felt silly and forced. I was even on board with things like the Rey and Kylo teleportation stuff, and I really thought they were going to use that to kill the Emperor, like as a team. But no, Rey just crossed her 2 swords and she's invincible now. Yay! Mary Sue for the win! It just felt so flat and dumb. An overall meh movie became bad due to that ending alone. And for those of you guys getting ready to type your mean comments, I'm really not a hater. I have the receipts. Go check out the video I made right before The Rise of Skywalker. I was going into that movie trying to like it, and even so, this film still fell flat for me. The good news is that the last movie isn't the only thing going on in Star Wars. While the movies have been a bit lacking recently, the TV shows have been on point in my opinion. We have several shows coming up like The Mandalorian Season 2 and the long-discussed Kenobi series. The Mandalorian Season 2 is scheduled to come out in the fall, and the Obi-Wan Kenobi series is still a bit up in the air, but the last mention for it was sometime in 2021. Both of these shows should be awesome, and I think everyone can pretty much agree with that. So those are 2 bright spots in the Star Wars fandom for sure. But the interesting thing is that there are 2 more other confirmed shows on the horizon. One is a Clone Wars spin-off called The Bad Batch, and the other is going to be a Rogue One prequel following Rebel spy Cassian Andor. The Bad Batch is following a team of clones introduced in the new season of the Clone Wars. They were pretty beloved by fans, and after watching the most recent season, I found myself hoping I get to follow them more in future episodes or even in a novel. But to my surprise and honestly delight, we're actually getting them in a whole series. For those of you who missed the Clone Wars, the Bad Batch are a group of clones who had different abilities than the average clones. The normal cloning process didn't work on them correctly, and they now do their own thing and go on impossible missions for the Republic. Essentially, they're mutant clones who have X-Men-like powers. This show is a bit worrisome to me because it seems like Disney is just going for a cash grab on some newly liked characters. But it honestly does have some potential because it looks like this will take place after Order 66. What makes that interesting is it's going to see if these troopers will be following the Emperor or not. As mentioned before, they were mutated and didn't get cloned correctly, so maybe they're immune to Order 66, or maybe they're going to be a hit squad for the Emperor. Either way, it's going to be pretty cool. As far as the Rogue One prequel is concerned, we don't know a ton about this show yet, but we do know we should see cameos from characters we're familiar with, and it will be set several years before Rogue One, near the start of the Rebellion. It seems like this show should have a bit of a Solo vibe, as Cassian is a bit of a scoundrel rebel himself. It should be exciting to see this cast of characters get more screen time after their great performance in Rogue One. My only concern for this series is the fact that maybe we really didn't actually need to know a ton about Cassian. Part of his charm in Rogue One was his mysterious nature, and showing all there is to show about him could take some of that mystery away from Rogue One. My other worry is that this project was initially delayed in 2019 and has now been delayed again due to world events. If this continues to happen, it could put this series in jeopardy. The last two mediums to cover are the Star Wars comics and the rumored future movies. The reason I'm linking these two mediums together is because they may be linked in some ways. The comics have been announced to be during the High Republic era, which is set 200 years before Episode 1. This is interesting because many people are speculating that this could be Disney introducing fans to a period of Star Wars lore that they'll be seeing again in later films. Originally, the creators of Game of Thrones were supposed to be heading up this new Star Wars trilogy, but unsurprisingly, those guys can't finish anything correctly and ended up getting cut from the Star Wars contract due to their own contractual obligations and scheduling conflicts. Many people were bummed by this. Not me though. Still bitter. Brand the frickin' broken. Whatever. Anyway, I think this may have led to the most exciting thing we've heard about in the upcoming Star Wars projects, and that is that Thor Ragnarok director Taika Waititi is said to be directing at least one of these new films. While Thor Ragnarok wasn't a perfect movie, it was super fun, and I think we really just need a good and fun Star Wars movie that won't divide fans so much. I think Waititi is the perfect pick for this, who can deliver a quality film. While many people think this film will be set around the High Republic era, there is another theory out there that may actually carry some more weight. Some people have been saying that Disney is giving the comics the High Republic era so that Waititi and crew will have the Old Republic time period, 3,000 to 4,000 years before Episode 1, all to themselves. If this is the case, sign me up right now. I'm really worried that Disney is going to ruin the Old Republic, but if by some miracle they can get it right, we may have a Star Wars renaissance on our hands. All that being said, my feeling overall is that Star Wars is in a very ambiguous state right now. And for once, that might be a good thing. We don't have any stories that need hashed out, we don't have any must-have films, we do have some cool shows coming out, and hopefully a totally new type of Star Wars movie set in an era that many may be unfamiliar with. While there's a lot of uncertainty, I again choose to stay an optimist. I think we have some really cool stuff to look forward to, and I hope beyond hope that this ambiguous period of 2020 will lead to some of the most awesome Star Wars stories ever told. And you made it to the end of the video. Thanks for sticking around. Again, if you guys could take a second to like and subscribe, that would be fantastic. If you want to see more Agent Jim Shorts content and interact with a bunch of cool Star Wars nerds and superhero fans, come over to my Instagram and follow me and check out my followers. We have a really good time over there, and I think you guys would too. Lastly, if you want to support the channel and check out some new Star Wars content, I have Amazon links in the description of this video. Anyways, thanks again everyone, and as always, don't forget to stay frosty.